super event, the power of mindset. And this is one of our first virtual events with the Hertfordshire Growth Hub. We've done many events from locally, but we've got a series of workshops that are coming up for the remainder of 2023, and it actually goes into 2024, really to design to support you as the business owner around various different important subjects to really help you take your businesses much further and faster. And the subject that we're going to be covering off today that kicks off everything is the power of mindset. And for me, it's a very interesting subject because many of us have to sort of start somewhere when we're looking at starting our businesses. And we're not just gifted that entrepreneurial gene. And there are many business owners that are not afraid to start pursuing their dreams. And some people find it very difficult to know where to start. And the biggest killer of the entrepreneurial mindset is not what you would expect. It's not failure. It's not the economy. It's not bad ideas. It is doubt in our own selves. It's a doubt in our own surroundings. It's doubt in our own abilities. And self-doubt can actually kill so many dreams before any external factors come into play. So a quick introduction to me. My name's Stewart Smith. I'm one of the local enterprise managers at NatWest. I look after the Hertfordshire and North London area. I've been in the bank 21 years this August. Been in the world of enterprise, educating and working with external partners like Hertfordshire Growth Hub to deliver content to really help businesses at all different stages, whether you're starting out or you're looking at growing and scaling. So for those that are interested, you're more than welcome to connect with me after the call today on either LinkedIn. There is a QR code on your screen. I'm also on Twitter as well, at Stewart Smith, LEM. So that's what the agenda looks like this morning. And today's event is really going to give you that insight into the power of mindset. And it's a topic that is very central here at NatWest to our overall entrepreneurship proposition, really helping businesses at different stages start, scale, and succeed. Now, because it is a session online this morning as virtual, we want to make sure it's interactive as we go through. So there's going to be a lot of things that I might ask you to share into the chat. Please do so, and what we'll do is we'll get some of those read out. If you want to ask any questions, if we can leave them till the end, there will be opportunities for Q&A at the end of today's presentation. So firstly, we'll look at the importance of mindset. We'll look at not only the importance of it, but we'll explain why we believe at NatWest it is a very central component to the success of you, but also to the success of your business. Really thinking about how it can actually motivate your decision making, and really how sometimes it can get in the way. And there's going to be certain situations, if you go back a few years ago, remember COVID, and also now the cost of living crisis. So mindset can actually make so many big decisions on our own behalf. We'll look at the growth versus fixed mindsets. We'll look at the differences. We'll look at how we can turn that fixed mindset into a growth mindset. And then we'll look at understanding your own mindset. That is a great little session, actually. We'll start to look at mindset, some of those characteristics of what growth mindsets look like and what fixed mindsets look like. And then concluding today, we'll look at the inner critics and look at those two different voices that we might have in our heads. The nurturing one that's always going to bring that encouragement and praise. And also we'll look at the one that's going to really sort of drag you down and really affect your overall mood. And then we'll finally conclude today by looking at how we can go away from today's session and develop that positive, powerful growth mindset. And that's really going to be the key part for you to achieve your goals. And if you've got that motivation, then that's going to really help you reduce your anxiety, depression, and your overall performance levels as well. So I'm going to kick off with the question, and you can pop this into the chat. If anyone did want to come off mute and do shout it out, by all means do so. But I'm not going to ask for the dictionary definition of mindset. What I'm going to ask is what mindset means to you. So when you look at the screen now, you see that word mindset on the screen. What does that mean to you? So again, in the chat, or if anyone wanted to come off mute, please do shout them out, what it means to you. So it could be different to what it might mean to someone else on today's call. So I'll give everybody just a couple of moments just to catch up what it means, and then I'll certainly share what it means to me. Frank's come in and said a way of thinking. Like that one, a way of thinking. Lisa's come in with how you're feeling. Yeah, mood, as I mentioned, mood can have different effects on our overall mindset. So how you are feeling. And we'll wait a couple of seconds, see if anyone else wants to come in with one more. Because all the answers that are coming in so far from Frank and Lisa, one's coming from Stewart. It's your choice of attitude and approach, how you tackle things. Yeah, spot on, Stewart. I like that one. And for me, none of the definitions that have come in are wrong. I've always said, look, if we want to understand mindset, if we really want to work on it and develop it, we need to be able to define it. And for me, mindset is a collection of thoughts. It's not only thoughts, but beliefs as well, that actually go and shape our thought habits. And your thought habits are what you think and actually how you feel in that moment in time. And that mindset actually impacts on how you make sense of the world, not only at this very moment, but actually how it makes sense of around you in this given moment in time. So one definition that you may want to take away from today is the established set of attitudes held by an individual. Now, it's quite interesting, actually, that those words on the screen. Again, on the chat, or come off mute, where do you think these attitudes come from? Where do you think we actually go and get these attitudes from? Any ideas of where these attitudes actually come from? Anyone? Yeah, background child peers, spot on, Frank. It is, and we're very much the product of 5 people that we actually spend the most time with, and we're always inheriting these attitudes and beliefs at any point in our life. And as Frank said, our childhood. You think about when you were growing up and you're going into your sort of early teen years. At that moment in time, brains are growing. We as humans are developing. Our entire body's developing. We go to school every day. We start to take information in. We're learning all the time, and we don't just take information in between sort of the 9 to 3:30 when we were at school. We would bring in this information all the time. So when we used to go home to our parents, our brothers, our sisters, our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents, we're always absorbing stuff, and it's quite innocently as well. And sometimes it can be very, very harmless. It might mean that we support the same football team, or we might be brought up in the same household. We do a certain thing, but not all the time. And sometimes we become brand loyal. And I can always recall a personal situation where I inherited those attitudes when I was a lot younger. I remember the very first time when I reached the age of 18, I was able to go and vote for the very first time. And I remember that day very, very clearly at the back of my mind, because I remember going down to the polling station and walking in, giving my details, and they gave me this card and they said, you need to just sort of go over to the wall and make your choice. But when I was over there, I stood there for quite a long period of time, and I had no idea at that moment in time what I was doing. And I was seeing people come and go really, really quickly. And I felt very, very pressured at that moment in time. And what I did would have been completely differently to what I would do now. And what I did is I just voted for the political party that from the household that I was brought up in. So it's in how things change and how things can sort of take over and our inherited attitudes can actually take over us at any given point in time. And if I was repeating this process again, it would be completely different. We know really what mindset is because we've defined mindset, but how does the mindset of an entrepreneur differ? Or do you think it actually differs? What's your thoughts on the mindset of an entrepreneur? Again, pop into the chat. What is mindset? Why is mindset important to an entrepreneur? While we're just waiting for that, I know Stewart came in on the last part saying you can really see how people choose to approach things, and either to inspire to handle a situation as well as them, or how to look with who dealt with a situation. And that is definitely not how I want to be. These choices are how you start to shape and how you like to work with others. Absolutely. Frank has come in on this question saying challenging popular conceptions. An entrepreneur has all of the risk. Absolutely. And an entrepreneurial mindset is about a certain way of thinking. And Amy's come in and said a positive mindset will allow us more success. It's about how we approach these challenges that might come our way and the mistakes that we're going to learn from it. It's about how we can inherit that need to improve your skill set, and really how you can build on your own confidence and your own resilience. Now, we know this more than ever because many of us on this call, no doubt, at some point in our businesses or in our personal lives, that we've had to deal with changes. And it's about having that right mindset to make sure that we can see through those changes. Now, if you look at this screen here, and this is the way I always like to explain it, is that we're a cyclist and we can see the end line right at the end. Now, our journey as an entrepreneur is never going to be that simple. It's going to look a little bit like this. There's going to be situations in our lives where there's going to be ups and downs, and we need to develop at this given moment in time the mindset that's going to be able to cope with the resilience, the tenacity, the confidence, the passion, and the courage. And I look at mindset being a tool to really help not only you, but your team, and really help your business thrive. What I'd like to do now, really quick exercise, is for me to sort of open up and let me introduce you to your own mindset. So on the screen at the moment, I just wanted to say a very good morning to everyone on here. So Stewart, Selma, Mike, Lisa, Frank, we've got Amy, we've got Wendy, we've also got Lisa as well. And what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes on the screen. And what I'm going to do is just look through all the names on this call today. And what I'm going to do in a few moments, just pick someone at random. And what I'd like you to do is come on to the main screen, just unmute yourself and just give us your sort of 60-second pitch. Tell us a little bit about your business. Tell us a little bit about what you're here today and really what you want to do going forward and what your visions and goals are. So 3, 2, 1. Today's person I'm going to pick is, of course, I'm not going to pick anyone. I'm not going to be that cruel on the call this morning. Now, when we're doing this live in a room, it brings a lot more fear because you can walk around, and I usually sort of tap somebody on the shoulder and say, it's you. And I normally get the feeling of exactly how they felt. But what I'd like you to do on the chat, will come off mute. How ready were we at that given moment in time? And what was going through your minds just for that small period of time where I'd not actually preempted anybody. I'd not come up to anyone and said, look, I'm going to ask you just to take part in this presentation this morning. And I've not given you any prior conversation. It was just at random. I was going to ask you to come off mute and actually give us your 60-second pitch. So share on the chat how you felt in that given moment in time, or please come off mute if anyone wants to share. Yeah, it panicked. Absolutely, Amy. Stewart said absolutely fine. Frank's come in contemplative. Wendy's come in as working out what to say. And it's quite normal. The comments that we do get back, you're panicking as well, Selma has put. And it is quite normal because you will get a mix of the audience that will say, I fear this, and I do panic in those given situations. And there's going to be parts of the audience, a bit like Stewart said, yeah, was quite happy to sort of jump in and give it a go. And people do shy away from things, but when you start to really analyze, all I'm asked you to do is something that we've all done this morning. We've all sort of had to speak to somebody this morning, whether it's at home and getting the kids ready to school and asking somebody to make you a cup of tea or coffee, or something that we may have asked a question in the office this morning. Everybody's done it. But when we're in this given scenario, all I'm asking you to do is the same thing, is talk. But your mindset starts telling you it's the wrong thing to do. And the reasons it does that, because it's a fear of failure. It's that lack of confidence. It's not being prepared, or it's that fear of rejection. And humans are a bit like pack animals, because we're designed for people to like us, even if you're the most introverted person on the planet. And we are very conditioned to want people to like us. And guess what? If we're asked to do something and it makes people feel very, very uncomfortable, then we're just not going to do it. And it is interesting. There's going to be a few people that will say, yeah, I'm up for it. It's really great. But when we're put in that situation that makes us feel really, really uncomfortable, we all start to think, what happens if this goes wrong? And that's the first thing that will go through your head. And that actually comes from natural risk aversion. But when have you ever asked yourself, what happens if this goes really, really well? And I can promise you, if you actually took that opportunity in any given situation, there's always going to be an impact that you have on at least one individual in that room. So it does take time. It takes confidence to start building it up. But if you don't deny any opportunities that you might get. This is quite a good way of sort of reviewing things. So we always say, look at various different things on the screen here. So what is your mindset to do with health? Now, health is quite a sensitive subject, because if somebody's not had any health issues in the past, they may take the health a little bit for granted. They might eat and drink what they would like, or they may not exercise. But someone who's experienced, or they know someone that has had health challenges, may behave significantly differently. And it's the same thing that we do with exercise, because mindset around exercise really sort of takes away and determines really what happens with our health, because we all want to be very competitive with friends and colleagues and family. So we start to set goals, and then we start to sort of start them at the beginning of the year. And sometimes by the time you get to March, it's then off the cross-off list. So we don't want people to get into that negative fixed mindset. Money, it can either go either way. You can be very successful with money, or you can actually completely give up and start to get that money mindset. You as individuals will choose how you want to spend your money, and you will choose how you want to save it. And it's about how you then, what mindset you've got of how you handle your money. And people will have views about debts. You may think that more people are more successful because they're making more money than those that don't. So it's different in how we can start analyzing those different points. Change. Some people actually love a process and it actually works for them. And some people don't welcome changes in their lives. They find it very difficult to adapt to a given situation. But then some people are always innovating and looking to ways to improve, and they want to welcome that change. And if it happens and there is failure, it can actually have a significant impact or a negative impact on themselves or their business. But it's about how you as the business leader can sort of react to it and how you can learn from your mistakes. And failure, absolutely the same way. If you learn from your mistake, you'll start to have that positive attitude that's really going to help you find that solution a lot quicker rather than going to dwell on the problem that's facing you. So the reason for that short demonstration, it's about how mindset changes depending on the context and the object of our focus, whether it's the goals, the ideas, the peoples, the situations, or the event. So in the context of your own business, the question really is, what is your mindset towards the following on the right-hand screen? What is it towards the next 3 to 6 months? Really the event schedule that you might have, your goals, your sales, your selling, your numbers. Again, in the chat, it'll be really good to see if anyone has got a plan maybe for the next 6 months. You can put yes and no's. We don't need any sort of details, but it's nice to share what your goals and your visions are for certainly the next 3 to 6 months for your business. It's a tool here that you could take away and sort of use within your own businesses. Frank's come in and said, put sustainability, growth and profitability. Brilliant, Frank. Thank you for sharing your goals and your visions for the next 6 months. And as we go through the session, if any more pop up, I will certainly call them out. But this is a question that we put to a lot of entrepreneurs, is about, are you above the line or below the line? And we use a formation called Orbed. And it's a really simple tool. It's a tool that we encourage people to use just to really check up on your own behavior. And as we've talked this morning, it's about how we adopt different mindsets in different situations. Selma's come in and said, yeah, got a 3 months plan, which is brilliant. Well done, Selma. Now, these different situations, it could be situations where we feel very much under pressure. Things might not be going our way as we expect, but it's about how you can actually understand your mindset further in those given situations that I've just explained. So if you are in a situation where above the line, which is the OAR section, which is about taking ownership of a given problem, having accountability and being responsible for that given situation, I look at that as being the mindset of champions. It's about rowing your boat where you want it to go. If you are in that situation where you're below the line and you're in the bed scenario, and that is the victim of mentality, it's about making your bed and lying in it. So you're in a situation where you're blaming others, you're making excuses, and you're being in denial about any given situation. The question is, and I'm not going to ask anybody to share that, but have a think about your own situation and think about the following questions that are on your screen. And you can take a screenshot of the slide before, which is the ownership, accountability and responsibility, and the blame, excuses and denial. And once you've taken that screenshot, then look at the questions that are on here about spending really some time reflecting, and discuss the following questions with people in your team. Think about, when was the last time you were in that OAR part of that formulation. When was the last time you were not in bed at 5 o'clock this morning, but in that blame, excuses and denial scenario? And what did you achieve by being in that OAR scenario? And what did you miss out of being in that BED scenario? So again, take a screenshot of that and go away from today and look at that as one of your key actions that you can go away and start to think about when you may have got into that that thing. And on the screen there is your 6 points. So OAR, ownership, accountability, responsibility, the mindset of champions, and the blame, excuses and denial, which is the scenario that we can fall into in different situations. And they are the questions that you can take away following today's session. Okay, we're just over halfway through, and this is a really, really good slide. So part of my role within the bank is I work within the support the NatWest Accelerator program, which is a 6-month free program for any businesses to register for, no matter what size or they are. If they've got a growth plan and they want to grow and scale and they want to take their businesses further and faster, then a 6-month program that we offer at NatWest is now open. It closes on the 18th of August for the 6 months to kick off in September. And you don't need to be a NatWest customer to join it. We have co-working space in Liverpool Street, which is opposite Liverpool Street Station. And within our accelerator, we have this poster within the accelerator hubs across the UK. So there are 13 hubs, and we call it the Power Up Mindset. And what the Power Up Mindset is about, it's about key behaviors that we recognize that are very important to early stage entrepreneurs or business owners. And it actually can sometimes be the difference between a success in business or a failure in business. And as a business owner, we understand that there are so many things that you have to manage and a lot of things to do. So if you've got that right mindset, that's really going to allow you to learn and challenge yourself to be successful. So on the screen, again, this slide will be on the screen for a few more minutes, but take a photo of it because it's a list of traits. Admittedly, on the screen, they're not exhaustive, so there are others as well, but these are what we feel that an entrepreneur or a business owner should have and actually should start working on. Now, when you start to look at it, you can start to challenge yourself regularly, and you can start looking at the list, note down the traits that you know, and the ones that you feel really super comfortable with, like Stewart this morning was quite happy to come out and pitch. And maybe the ones that may have been on the call, like Selma said, oh, I panicked. They're the ones that you may not feel as confident with. Now, for me, there's going to be things on there that I may not have felt so comfortable with when I first started in enterprise. And pitching was always that fear of failure. But as you grow and you start to feel more confident, it becomes natural to you. But think about the ones that are holding you back. Think about the ones that you're afraid of currently at this given moment in time. And acknowledge, really importantly, acknowledge the ones that you think may be holding you back in any of the given situations. Now, it could be just one or two on the screen that you're really petrified of. Think about those, think about the oar and the bed scenario. Think about, are you permanently going to stay in that situation? Or think about how you can get out of that situation and start to feel much more comfortable. And once you've done that, you can really start working on your own mindset. And you don't want to be sort of pulling 5 or 6 or 7 of them. It's just working on the 1 or 2. And when you get yourself comfortable and confident, you can move on to the other ones on there. So it'll be, as long as everybody's taken a screenshot of that, take that away and ask one simple question following this call today. What is the first thing you want to do to feel in control of that situation? Not how you're going to solve the problem, not how do you overcome this in a very quick win, but how do you overcome this in 5 easy steps? And what is the first thing you want to do to feel in control of that situation? You may want to go away and you might want to connect with someone that's really, really good at it. You may know someone that's got that contact in that particular area, Hertfordshire Growth Hub, or someone that can actually open the door for you. Go and connect with them, have that mentor to really help you break it down so you can actually start moving forward and you don't deny any opportunities that if you have the chance to pitch, you can start feeling really, really comfortable in that situation. Anyone heard of, and again, quick thumbs up or a yes or a no in the chat would be really good, of Carol Dweck? And there's a famous quote that Carol came up with: for decades I've been studying why some people succeed while people who are equally talented do not. And over the years, I've discovered that people's mindset plays a crucial part in that process. Carol Dweck, she's, if you Google Carol Dweck or search her through the internet, you'll find some really interesting articles on mindset. But she's a professor of psychology at Stanford University in the USA, world-renowned author, and known for so much work on her mindset. And it's really about the effects of having that growth mindset or that fixed mindset. And as I've highlighted to you this morning, it's about one of the most important elements to becoming a successful business owner. So if we have a look a little bit more further on the mindset side, so a fixed versus growth mindset. Before we move on to sort of giving you a quick example, because there was a great experiment that Carol did, and I will share it with you. Who would sort of be brave on the chat or come off mute just to give us what their definition would be of a fixed mindset? Anyone would like to share what you think fixed mindset means to you?
Probably there's only one way of doing things.
Yeah, being stuck in that way.
This is how we've done it. This is how we've always done it. This is how we continue to do it. Yeah,
spot on. Amy's come in a mindset that doesn't falter in any situation. Mike's come in with no accepting of change, which is really, really, really good comments. Really, thank you for those. That's a definition that you can take away today. The perspective that character, intelligence, and creative ability are fixed. If you look at the opposite, and we go into the next one, which is the growth mindset, because that's what we're looking at, the two differences. Always remember that you're not in control when you're in that fixed mindset. Where you can be in control on a growth mindset. Who would like to just sort of give us their view on a growth mindset? Any thoughts?
Can I just come in?
Yeah, of course you can, yeah.
Growth mindset really is saying that anything, just anything is possible if and only if you have the correct mindset.
Yeah.
There are no limitations to what you can achieve.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Because the Stewart's put a can-do attitude, someone who's willing to learn and develop. Yeah, really echoed the other comments, and seeking way forward, happy with change. The the terminology on the screen here is you can change and grow through effort, application, and experience. And if you look at the opposite to that is you weren't in control in a fixed mindset, but you are now in control of that given situation. And a really good example was when we looked at the fixed versus growth mindset. It's an experiment that Carol did, and I will quickly share it with you, but it's one that really sticks out in my mind. There was a high school based in the USA. She got 100 children together. She put them into a hall. The kids didn't know why they were going in there. The ages of these children were 12 to 14, so you're probably looking at sort of years 8 to 10. So they're in this exam room, and as they entered it, there was some paper that was turned upside down on the table. Made it very clear to them that she didn't want anyone turning the paper over until she told them to do so. The purpose of this exercise was only to measure the children's reactions. Now, when she gave them the go-ahead to turn it over, just before they started to look at it, just to give you the picture, it was the equivalent of a GCSE exam. So it would have been at least 2 to 4 academic years ahead of really where the children were at that given moment in time. But it was only for reaction purposes why she did this demonstration. But when she told everybody to turn the paper over, it was 30% of those children in the room actually turned the paper over and went, "Oh, really? I can't do this." Now, how many times do you think in our personal lives can you relate to that scenario where you've gone to do something, you've gone, "I can't do it. Never been good at it. I just can't do it." And many a times that we've done that. Now, 30% of the other, so 30%, we still got 70% left. So another 30% actually opened it and had a very similar reaction to the first batch of children. But what they did differently is they started to read question 1 in its entirety and actually went, "I can't do it." Now, 30 seconds later, both of those sets of children, so 60%, actually went, "I can't do it," and turned the paper straight over. So that's 60% of the room. Now, the 40% of the room actually looked at it and went, "Hang on a minute, I can actually do question 1. I can't do 2, and I can do 3, and I can do 4. And this actually continued for the whole of the experiment. And what they adopted was that try me attitude. And it's actually interesting, that 60-40% split that I've just gone through, that fixed versus growth mindset, is an international average. But really what happened next was very interesting. Those 60% that actually self-selected out and actually pushed the paper away and said, "I can't do it," they actually weren't content to sit there for the whole of this experiment. They actually looked across the room and looked at the 40% that were continuing to do the paper and couldn't work out why they were continuing, because they were in the same class, they were the same age, they had the same apparent skill level. And it actually started to make them feel very, very insecure, and it actually made them feel very inferior. And what they tried to do was look to distract and disturb those kids that were carrying on. And when we're in a fixed mindset, we have to latch onto something. We have to latch onto something, some people that actually may feel the same way. And actually, when we moan, you know what, we always ring people that we know that might sort of feel the same way. But how many times when we do that, do we open up a conversation and say, "I'm actually ringing you today because I'm in a very bad mood and I'm actually hoping that you're going to pull me out of it"? We don't actually do that very often. We're not saying at this given moment in time that in order to be successful, you've got to have a growth mindset all the time. But what we're saying is, in order to be successful, we need to recognize the fixed mindsets that we're in and work out how we can convert them into growth mindsets to be able to take ourselves forward. The ones that we showed on them list of traits, ones that you are in that comfort zone with, great. The ones that you think I'm not so comfortable with, be like the child that I've explained to you that says, you know what, I'm going to give it a go and go and do it. So we've defined fixed mindsets, we've defined growth mindsets, and we've got this situation where we've said, look, I'm not able to do this yet. Just think of the choice of languages that we use and think about, I can't do this, and change it to, I'm not able to do this yet. Is a really, really good way of thinking. This is a great little sort of spectrum, because this is like almost like the spectrum of mindset. If you think about it, if you've got that fear of public speaking, that there was a few people on this call this morning that said, you know what, I panic about public speaking. This is never going to stay like that. There's going to be an opportunity where you can move up the spectrum. Now, if you're in that fixed mindset at this given moment, then I don't see that being a problem, because it doesn't mean that you need to stay there. You've got to think, what can I do to feel in control of this situation? Whether you reach out to a mentor, as I've explained, or whether you try to do something different about it. Now, you could be very super confident. You might be super confident in cooking, and you go and watch, and you're a fan of the Bake Off, and you start to make cakes, but you burn one cake when it actually matters, because you're about to enter it into a competition. The growth mindset will start to plummet. So what we need to do is we need to start thinking about those given moments of really how we can get above the line, not below the line. If there's one thing that you remember from today's session, remember this: E plus R equals O. Whatever the event is, plus your reaction to that event will have a direct impact on the outcome. Now, for me, growth mindsets, they're a choice. They may not feel like it, because mindset really starts to make decisions on our own behalves. But it's all about those inherited beliefs that I went back to at the very, very beginning. So there's a nice little activity you can take a quick screenshot of. But take a few minutes after today's call, start to reflect on your own mindset, how it affects you as well, and then ask yourself, where is your mindset at this given moment in time? What does it actually stop you from doing? What does it enable you to do? And why is it important? And what you're going to do to develop your mindset further. So again, if you've got a camera phone, take a quick screenshot of them questions. So you've got the opportunity to go away from today's session to start thinking about some of the questions on the screen. And that very last question on there is, what are you going to do to develop your mindset further? But a question that I'll throw back at you is, what's stopping you having a growth mindset? There's one key word as well that I'm going to share with you in a moment, but is there anything on the chat that you would like to share to think, what is stopping you having a growth mindset? Anyone would like to share anything? Might not be you specifically, might be what you think some businesses really struggle with, but what's stopping us having a growth mindset? Anyone would like to share? I'll share one with you. It's the big word that cash flow, Stewart has put. Absolutely. Getting to know the numbers. Again, that's one of the traits on the mindset deck, but cash flow does come up quite a lot. People do worry about their numbers, managing all the cash that's coming into their business. One word that starts with C, and I'll bring it up on the screen now, is confidence. How you trust yourselves in different given situations. Mike's come in the influence of others with fixed mindset and the lack of support and belief. Yeah, it can really sort of drag you down. And Frank's come in with confidence as well and positivity. Frank said confidence. Added to cash flow, profitability as well. Cash is king, absolutely. But think about what confidence means to you. Think about who is always confident and who's confident in their business and what impacts confidence as well. Because it's about how you trust yourselves in any given situation. And Latin for confidence actually is trust, belief in itself. So think about it. I'm not going to ask because of time differences today, and we're obviously against the time, but think about, why do we lack confidence in ourselves? And again, you can put that down in certainly your notes, or again, share them on the chat. And as we go through the remaining few slides, I will shout them out as we get a quick break. But who's heard these things before? You're not good enough. It's not going to work. Just give up. You'll never make it. What will people think? Well, one of the key things of why I've shared those, because it's the inner critic. And the inner critic is a real big issue for a lot of people. It's also known as the chimp, the inner voice. And many entrepreneurs, many business owners will start to hear the inner critic regularly. And as I said, it could be that nurturing voice, or it could be that critical voice. But what does it actually sort of tell you? And there are 5 types of inner critics. Now, inner critics, very, very personal to the individual, and they're very unique to everyone. But these are the most 5 common inner critics that I've sort of selected out. Now, it's not an exhaustive list, there's going to be others as well, but you've got the perfectionist, you've got the pusher, you've got the people pleaser, you've got the diminisher, the imposter. The perfectionist, quick summary on them all. So it starts for then you to relate to the ones that you relate to. But perfectionist is about seeking perfection, struggling with ambiguity, likes a plan. The pusher, they're always people that are going to be setting unrealistic targets, and they're going to be people that generally are impatient. The people pleaser, you know what, they're always out there trying to please everyone at the peril of themselves. The diminisher, they start to think, you know what, I'm never quite good enough and I really struggle to overcome failure. And the imposter can never actually believe that they're good enough or actually qualified to do something. So again, quickly take a screenshot of that screen. But one thing that I'd like you to think about, I don't want you to share this because this is quite unique and personal to you, but this is an exercise you can take away and start to work on. You can do it also with your team, but it's a question that, think about, which inner critic do you recognize? And the exercise that you can take away is about, think about your inner critic that you recognize the most and write down those pros and cons of your own inner critic. When does this generally appear? And how do you manage your inner critic? So again, take a screenshot of that. I will share with you me. I feel I like number 1, and that's me, because I am always liking a plan. So if I'm coming on to today's session, I'm planning this in advance. I don't just come in and sort of present it and sort of go through it without looking at everything. So just to understand it. I'm very much a people pleaser. I do like to make sure that people are happy before maybe looking after myself. And they're the 2 strong ones that I had. I did have a little bit of imposter and diminisher at some stage. I finally managed to lose those 2, just working on my own mindset. But the 2 that sticks out the most for me today at the moment is the perfectionist and the people pleaser. So have a think about that. And this is the last slide for today. It's really about how you can develop your mindset going forward, because these are some of the top tips that I wanted to share with you. So The first one is about language. We've shared a lot about this today. We've talked about the words that you use and how this might impact you and how it might impact others. So think about the I can't yet and change it to, the I can't yet. Think about the I can't do it and change it to the I can't yet do it would be a better option. Think about the language. Take time to reflect, because you want to reflect on your behaviors. You want to reflect on any outcomes that are happening, whether they're good, whether they're bad. And then start to think about what can you do to feel in control of that given situation. You want to set your visions. Now, a few people, I know when we asked that in the chat, a few people have set their visions, but be clear on your own plan. Be clear on your vision and where you want to go, because that's going to help you overcome those challenges. And then start to understand your triggers. Think of your triggers, what is putting you into a fixed mindset, and really how you can develop those traits. The beginning, we shared that motor, that cyclist. Enjoy the journey, because there's going to be your ups and downs, but learn along the way. And failure, it's a good thing. Use it as a tool to learn from, stop making excuses, and really take ownership of your attitude, and stop making excuses about those things that become very, very difficult. I'll leave that slide up on the screen just for a few seconds for people to take a full picture of that now, because that's completed. I wanted to say a big thank you for listening to me today. Thank you for attending today. There are some tools that I will share with the Hertfordshire Growth Hub that can be sent back out to you around mindset, which is very central to our 10 workshops that we're going to be running with Hertfordshire Growth Hub over this year. One exercise you can take away from today: take 5 minutes after today's call to think about what is your key takeaways from today. Importantly, you can do all the takeaways, but what are you going to be doing to develop your growth mindset and self-awareness, and get 3 actions that you want to do as a result. So that's one activity that you can do after today's call. So again, take another screenshot of this. What are your key takeaways? What are you going to do to develop your growth mindset? And what are your 3 actions to do as a result is really, really key. And that on the screen here is the business builder. But again, I'll send the links out to you on to the Hertfordshire Growth Hub. Other than that, I just wanted to say a big thank you for listening, and I'll hand back to Lisa and the team at the Hertfordshire Growth Hub. And yeah, it's just before 11 o'clock when we were due to conclude today's session. So I'll hand back to Lisa, but thank you for listening.